And we're live, assumedly. I'm not expecting anyone to arrive miraculously, but this is day one of a challenge that I've actually set to clients and students of mine in the past. It's that if we want to find our voice now let me not get into teaching mode. I need to find my voice again, especially now. So I do most of my thinking via writing, hey? And I think the writing is meaningful and beautiful, but the thoughts and ideas are coming through me so strong at the moment and so in such a torrent that I'm actually sitting with more ideas and more insights than what I can extrude onto a page or into videos if it's highly productionized content. So I'm going to have to get into this mode of doing live videos, but it's very daunting actually. I mean, just consider, and I invite anybody who is trying to find their voice to think about this challenge. Imagine I set you a challenge, or you set yourself a challenge more accurately, that says for 20 days you're going to go on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter actually whether it's Facebook or Instagram or any, they're all equally crap in some sense. But you're going to go on for 20 days for about somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes a day and just speak unrehearsed. Just find your own voice again and do that for 20 days and just show up and keep showing up. A few things are going to happen, right? You're going to notice within that 20 days a remarkable change, and you're going to start becoming desensitized to the idea of what people think about what you're saying and how you're showing up and your sense of natural speaking. Now, I hate doing this. I absolutely hate doing it. But it's becoming a necessity because, like, man, there's so much going on in my head at the moment and in my heart. So if anyone's following my work at all, and if you're following it and picking up what I'm putting down, actually, you'll notice that I've got a burdensome sense of calling in this world. I'm trying to share an important insight and a message. I'm trying to explain how certain concepts are more relevant now than ever before. And I'm not saying they're always going to be relevant, but they're hugely relevant now, and they're more relevant than some of the other things that we're focused on. I'm just going to move this camera quickly. They're more relevant than some of the other things we're focused on. And we've got such a growing sense of despair, and I feel it, man. Fuck, I feel it. And one of the reasons I feel despair is I've been sort of predicting, prophesying almost, as it were, that the trajectory that we were on as a human species, especially in our current context with all the technology and all of the way that we handle public discourse, the way that politics has devolved into like kind of reality TV, it's evident to me that arena was not going to result in anybody working anything out and putting raising a flag or a shining light on the hill and saying, hey, humanity, let's move this way. That whole game is designed like a Super Bowl kind of clash. It's supposed to be an agitative visual spectacle in which two sets of fan bases are constantly like drawn into every single margin call, and the one team saw it this way and the other team saw it that way. And there's no coherence, there's no convergence, there's no understanding, and there's not like the intention is to achieve that. We have to admit that the intention, let's put the sound down, seems to be so obviously much more about discrediting another team and saying why your team is right and they're a bunch of idiots and they're all wrong. It's so obvious that no meaningful answer can come out of that place. So that's one of my sources of despair. And the other one is that we've got a kid, man. I'm 50 years old now, so I was divorced and remarried, and my wife was divorced and remarried, and we both had this longing in our hearts to like have a family and have that sense of meaning and community in our lives. And we didn't have a child to fill our lives, but we thought that we had so much love to give and we were not allowed to love and parent and be the way we wanted to be in the previous incarnations of ourselves in those earlier marriages. We had been smaller people, and we didn't want to live such an insular, secular life, just like sort of living in the thimble, navel gazing at our own intentionalities of actualization. We wanted to actualize as parents as well. And so we brought Maya into the world. And to bring a child into the world at this moment in time, fuck man, just to try and figure out what to feed that child is, you can't get straight information everywhere. The whole world is trying to market and spam and bullshit you and grift you into something. There's no end to the nutrition experts, right, on both sides of the political aisle. There's the conspiracy theorists who are just completely untethered as to what veracity and truth science can tell us. And then there's the scientific project that's been completely subsumed by commercial interests. So it's impossible to know who to trust on how to look after yourself and feed your own kids and feed your own family. That's just your guts. When it comes to our child's education, hey Vivian, we don't know. Classic forms or traditional forms of education are so broken. They are not remotely designed to prepare children for life. Not remotely. They're designed to prepare children for an industrial compliance. In other words, to make them workers in a factory or just peons in some soulless corporate environment. And we don't want that for our child. But to try and navigate all of this madness and even figure out those two simple answers is so impossible. Both of us are divorced, and now we've made a new life for ourselves, but we haven't yet rebuilt our life to the way it was before. We can't afford our own home, which is galling, right? I don't want to go work back in corporate anymore. I worked there for 27 years and it destroyed me, and it's busy destroying my wife, right? I want to be able to feed my family, making a living out of sharing this kind of wisdom and guiding people towards more meaningful, more fulfilling lives, because that's what I would want if the shoe sat on the other foot. So for some reason, I've come into this world and I've been called to understand a great many things, and I've been called to fashion myself into somebody who's got a voice and a presence and an understanding that I can articulate such things, and I've got a heart to want to do that for all the right reasons. Now, here's the other reason why I despair, is because someone, and I'm not the only one, can have such a noble vocation in life. And think of somebody, a friend of mine that I'm collaborating with, Chetan, he's putting a video together today. And the gist of the video is, imagine your favorite thought leader, your favorite spiritual teacher, your favorite philosopher, your favorite poet, the person that inspired you the most in your life, that actually changed your life. If you look back at moments of grief or at crossroads in your life where you rested on that wisdom and that understanding, and you're grateful for the way that they changed the way that you show up in relationship or just for yourself, your own personal healing. Imagine the importance of that person and their messaging to your life. Now imagine them showing up fresh for the first time on the internet today, trying to break through this deluge of bullshit and noise to try and reach us. There is no ways they would be able to do that. And just reflect on the meaning that such teachers have had for us. So, I mean, there's modern ones too, people like Adam Grant in the corporate space. He's just a great guy with a great message. There's a guy called Jefferson Fisher. He's a Southern lawyer that's created like an Instagram platform and written a book now, helping young people have conversations, finding their own voice and saying what they mean to say and protecting their own sovereignty in abusive relationships. And these could be personal relationships, that even could be with parents, or it could be in the work environment, and even with each other, and especially politically and socially online. We don't know how to communicate to each other. And that's his platform, right? And he's doing an excellent job. You should check him out. His name is Jefferson Fisher. I really, really like the guy. But imagine that guy just arrived on the scene out of nowhere in this moment today, because his Instagram platform is well subscribed, but it's got about a 3 or 4 year runway, right, of having built that. But the mess that the algorithm has served us up today, the soullessness and the poor incentive of the algorithm and the way these social media platforms are designed, they are not designed to educate us or connect us. They are designed to keep us agitated, outraged, fear of scarcity, fear of each other, mistrust of each other, and to keep us distracted and entertained. To keep us distracted and entertained. And for someone with a noble cause and a true sense of calling, trying to authentically and without diminishing my own integrity speak into that field now is so fucking thankless. Because unless you play the game of pretending like you've got $100,000 production budget and having the best cameras and microphones and all the resets and edits and flashing filters and crap, the algorithm just doesn't notice you, and the audiences that we're trying to engage with are so overwhelmed. They are just we are all utterly overwhelmed with the glut of information and misinformation and disinformation and malinformation. We're all malinformed. There's never been a moment where it's been more important to try and reach out to other human beings and to try and get them to bring the temperature down. Just find stillness again, to share everyday wisdom and everyday philosophy, not to build a brand or to grow your hashtag user count or any of that other crap, but just to be of service to each other as human beings again. You can't do that today. You can't do that today. And that fills me with so much despair, and I don't know how to solve that problem. And as I said, I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years, quite thanklessly, and making so many terrible mistakes. And I've gotten to the point now where I've realized how insidiously that expectation of how someone is supposed to show up on social media. And I've realized how broken it is. And I've also realized how futile it almost is for someone like me to try and reach through this medium, try and reach anyone, and pull together a community. People that want to connect, people that want to be part of a solution, want to figure out how to integrate such wisdom into their life and how to slow down and how to be part of the solution more than they are being part of the problem. Because at the end of the day, man, we've got these little budgets of energy and attention that we can choose every single morning when we get up how to spend them. You know, and we're coming up in the Western world on this moment of Easter. And Easter is supposed to be about reflecting on the cycle of death and rebirth and renewal, and even sacrifice sometimes. So, by definition, if we are ever to grow or actualize as individuals, as families, as couples, as a species, we have to outgrow, by definition, the small, limited version of who we were just yesterday. Even if that version came at great cost, right? And that's the sacrifice we sometimes have to make. We have to put that on the sacrificial fire or pin it to a sort of cross. And, you know, that symbol of the egg is the symbol of the soul. But so much of this wisdom has been lost. But at such a moment, we're sitting here reflecting on and rebirth. And how do we ever give ourselves the opportunity to go through such a process meaningfully if we are not actually the ones holding the reins or the helm of our own ship on our own journeys? And we're really not. Because the way that you think, the language that you speak, the gods that you grew up worshipping, the ideas that you believe today are normal, the shit around us that we've normalized, is not you in your best self with the wisest, with the best opportunity of mentors and teachers preparing you for life, and you chose this outcome. You were just handed this reality. You were handed the reality and the normal and the default setting that you are living life by. And how can we ever reach this place that we're trying to reach, this next threshold of our own kind of becoming or evolution, if we can't steer that ship ourselves, if we can't live a life by design, instead of just opting or defaulting into the default that gets handed to us. Yeah. So really what that is about how we safeguard and steer our own agency. And that isn't just deciding to be sovereign. It's knowing how to be a leader for yourself. It's knowing how to guard yourself, safeguard yourself from all the forms of influence and control that you are bombarded by every single day and every single minute of your life. All the time. All the time. And so my conundrum is how I go about helping people to get serious about that project. First of all, believe that something is possible, and then getting them to realize that if you don't show up with discernment and intentionality, if you don't bring your whole self and commit to such a journey and a process, it's not going to happen by itself, and the world is certainly by default not going to steer you in such happy directions. The world that we've created for ourselves now doesn't want that for us. It wants something unpleasant and unhappy. And left to its own devices, the trajectory that we're all following is that the extremely rich are becoming an elite class, and the rest of us are becoming a kind of cattle class. Just think about how we treat cattle. And the gap between those two classes is just stretching and widening with every single moment that passes. So whatever foolishness or wisdom Donald Trump is coming from in his intentionality with tariffs, I'm not an economics expert. My assumption is that there's no great forethought there at all, and it's really just a selfish, simple ploy to reenact some kind of 80s megalomania fantasy. I could be wrong, but whatever side of that political aisle you're sitting on, what is definitely happening is the stock market is crashing, which is enabling people with excess wealth, enormous access to excess wealth, to buy these stocks at a discounted price. And then if the market recovers, they suddenly become infinitely richer overnight. And all of us who are on breadline already are forced to sell those stocks at lower prices. So the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. It doesn't matter which side of a political argument you find yourself on. That is fundamentally what's going to happen. Everything is that cynical now. And it's so overdue that we wake up and realize that, there's a story we get told as young people, and we secretly still hold on to it even now, that the good thing will happen in the long run. Evil can't win. Evil is winning, and it's going to win. And by the time we all wake up and realize that we could have still done something, it would be too late to do something. But now there's this tiny window of time that we have now to actually do something, to change the way that we're showing up. And the problem seems so enormous. But the thing is, you don't have to solve the whole problem. You just have to begin here with the way that you're showing up on the internet every single day. I have to find the courage to have these kind of conversations without rehearsing it and writing long-winded Substack essays. And you have to find the courage to face how you're showing up. Because there's content creators that just create any kind of crap for likes. And then there's people that are aligned probably a bit more like me, who have some kind of gift or some kind of invitation that they came here to embody or to share in this world or to be in this world. Yeah? And those are our artists, our philosophers, and our creators. Their job is so vital and so important right now and so thankless right now, because what have we normalized? Yeah, we've normalized seeing something amazing and going, oh yeah, because we're doom scrollers. And we just flick past it while we flick past 1,000 other meaningless bits of crap. And even if we appreciate it, we share it on with a friend, or we just like it and save it, but we don't let that artist or that philosopher know that they've changed our day, that we appreciate their work. So they just carrying on, trying to be better and better and better, extruding their souls through their work, trying to reach other human beings, trying to reach the human being in you that has fallen asleep in this sick dream. And they're trying to wake you up and drag you out towards some form of truth, towards some form of light, towards some form of meaning. Yeah. But that is a two-way street. If you don't reach back and make the comment and thank somebody and tell them that you agreed or disagreed, or but you appreciate the effort, if you don't realize that it's incumbent on you as a consumer to start engaging actively, then you remain a passive consumer and you remain the bulk of who the algorithms are catering to and telling you what to watch, telling you how to think, telling you what matters. That is the exact opposite of sovereignty and agency, which means something non-human is deciding for you how to live your life. That's a tragedy. That's a real tragedy. So I suppose my ramble today is about the fact that I feel a sense of despair, and I'm trying to meet with people who are recognizing that sense of despair in themselves. And I'm trying to encourage you to find the kind of voices and lights on the internet that matter to you and that speak to you and that resonate with your soul, your humanness, and then connect back with them. And don't just become a passive follower, become an active supporter and engager of their work, because the human race, our future now, really depends on the kind of light and coherence and connection that we can forge in this sea of meaninglessness that is very close to drowning us completely. And it's a sea that we helped cause, a flood that we helped cause. So I've got a project that I'm running called A Better Way. And if you watch this and this means something to you, and you're suddenly realizing that there is for everything that we care about in this world, there might not be right or only ways to do such things, but that doesn't mean that there's not better and worse ways. And what would it look like if you started today deliberately to work with people like myself and Chetan and whomever else we manage to attract in such a project, in such a community, and start looking how to find out what the better ways are about all those things we care about, how to feed our kids, how to educate them, how to navigate relationship and try to extract meaning out of the drudgery of a modern life, how to show up on the internet, how to guide our own actualization, how to safeguard our sovereignty at work, in relationships, online, how to change the political discourse and how we can contribute to that change. Each of those things, there are better and worse ways, and we're exploring the better way. And wouldn't it be so lovely if you started investing in that with us? So, the invitation is open. I'll probably put a link to this live video to that project. And that's my first live ramble for the day. So for Vivian, who joined, thank you for joining and staying until the end. I appreciate that, Vivian. I'm not sure if you've read much or followed any of my work, but here we are. And that's it. I'll sign off. And this is day 1 of 20 days of live that I'm going to do and I think I'll just do them here on Substack. And I might try and replicate it somewhere else on Instagram and see what happens. Until next time, doom scrollers, take care.